So today I'm gonna run through some personal branding guidelines considerations, and these are things that you need to keep in mind, or that you should just keep in mind, so that you don't ramble off and consume a ton of content that you don't really need. So the first thing for personal branding is you understand your core value and where you stand. That's like thinking about your concept, knowing who you are, so that if somebody comes in and debates with you, you know which position you stand for. There's a good way to figure it out. It's what you're confident in. Can you defend this point? Do you believe this? That is your stance. And usually, to be confident in something, I would say you have a lot of experience in there that you know, or you have high probability of being able to pull back on previous experience that makes you know that this will have a low chance of failure, as in your idea will have a lower chance of failure because you've had so much previous experience that gives you that confidence, and not from watching a course or a lecture or something. But of course, if those courses or lectures and are giving you information that's good and you're building it off of previous knowledge that you got from trustworthy sources that you've done research and review to make sure that it's accurate, if it's based on that, then yeah, definitely trust that. But if you understand where you are in contribution to the message that you're putting out into the world, then that helps you a lot with the vision or the brand of you, the personal brand. And the next part is what you're talking about. You know from what we just figured out who you are. So the next part is, what are you going to talk about? What subjects are you going to touch? Which angle are you going to do this approach at? And that's why I'm saying things like this takes time to reiterate for you to know and see what has product market fit. For example, you might think that you're very good at AI, and this is a personal example because when I taught AI classes on Skillshare, it was more of a smaller pond, and people were ready to watch these courses about AI and art. But if I were to launch that in a different platform, then starting from zero and not building that audience that likes art or something, that will be a lot harder to be able to sell and get that mass critical appeal. So this is where you practice what you teach. See what people like, see what people vibe with. And the best way to do that is by practicing on camera and then putting it out there, because the practicing on camera gives you this fluency of being in front of the camera, being you in front of the camera, and then putting it out there gives you the practice of repetition, seeing something. Like when you finally see that video go live, you can look at it and be like, okay, I should have done this there. I should have done the text pop up at this area. I should have had the intro space like this, so on and so forth. So these take iterations. And if you just keep watching personal branding videos and classes, you're just going to have so much information that you're bombarded with constantly wanting to try and optimize something new. So you might have already figured out a good angle to shoot at, but then you're like, hey, what if I shoot at this other angle that another creator is doing? Like maybe Daniel Dallen's doing a top-down shot. Maybe I should do that. Or some other creator like Andrew Huberman is doing a 50 millimeter type lens directly down sitting on a table. Maybe I should try that shot. And you're trying to optimize for something that doesn't need to be optimized yet. And so you're in this endless loop of just being at the starting point and not moving your personal brand forward. Now, the next thing to move on to is probably the funner part, the visuals. This is where most people get stuck in as well. They're like, oh, what should the brand look like? What should my logo be? What should my website be? When all that really doesn't matter. What's most important is that you have the foundations set, and then you can start looking at the visuals. Now, the visuals are actually pretty easy to do. There's this concept called steal like an artist, and essentially all you have to do is the same thing. The last step, you had figured out your way of message, how you're best shared, and the part after that is essentially the same too. As you're building out your visuals, you look at other people, businesses, companies in your industry and see what is common in the industry now that establishes someone a certain way. Now, that could be in color usage, that could be in font, that could be in letter spacing, that could be in packaging. So all of this is how the impression of you comes out to communicate with those people who you are. Now, I think the thing to consider for this last part is how to just structure your most commonly put out media asset is in a way that is aesthetically on brand for the industry that you're going for. For example, if you watch my channel, I structure out my videos, my thumbnails, to have a certain font in that thumbnail, a certain colorway in that thumbnail, a certain vibe of that thumbnail. It's also based off of doing research on what types of thumbnails have been working, because every video that I put out, for the most part, have 3 different thumbnails running at the same time, just so I could get a feel for what people like with the videos that I'm putting out based on my brand and what thumbnail hits the most with the audience and get them to watch and stay a long duration in the video. And then there's how the video's cut up, the way that I frame, the colors that I choose in that video. So I have maybe more of a matted tone, and I have a certain style of framing that I use that you see in my videos a lot. And then behind me there's like certain decoration, like maybe it's that lamp, maybe it's the books, maybe it's the table, or whatever I have. And then finally how I cut up the videos, like maybe it's certain jump cuts in at certain places, or the intros like this, or maybe they use a certain sound effect that puts them in a certain part of the market, like that high-pitched sound effect, that ring one that's in like every video these days. And that also goes the same with your photos that you're putting out for carousels or Instagram posts, or the videos that you have, like how all these texts are, what fonts you use, what colors it is, which all of this takes iterations as well. So don't be discouraged. Put in the time to just focus on these 3 things. Stop watching all of those personal branding videos thinking that the next hack is going to help push your personal brand a lot further. Most likely, you need to work on the foundations first, and then that comes afterwards. Also, once again, a lot of resources in my description, which will help you with all the foundations we talked about. And yeah, I'll see you next time.